Oh, is this a Hangover or Balls Bruise Bros?
I haven't made the save screen yet for Hangover.
Oh, okay. Dare a Gumbagwe. One carry for -2 yards.
Tackled by Brashad Perriman. Oh, hey, we're coming live. Hit that intro.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Fire those cannons.
How's it going, everybody? Good evening. It's your host, Moose. Welcome to the Bucking Hangover special live edition of the Bucking Hangover. We were able to get Mike to join us today. Mike, how's it going? As we
Hey,
rescreen your Skype screen for the 50th time.
it's going pretty good today. Just finished watching a lot of the highlights from the Bucs game. Looks like we got a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was going through the highlights as well. I was able to watch a good chunk of the game live, which wasn't as rewarding as I thought it would be. But yeah, looking at the highlights today, just to get those memories fresh. Another disappointing loss for the Bucs as they moved to 2-5 on the year. I mean, I honestly didn't think they would be here at 2-5. Maybe 3-4. Honestly, optimistically, I was thinking 4-3, and I guess we're a couple plays away from 4-3 if you think about it. I mean,
Definitely a field goal away.
a field goal away from at least 3-4, and I don't know. If you look at the Saints game, uh, I think that's a throwaway. But this is a game we should have won, I think. And we'll talk about some of the key plays and turning points as we get into it. Of course, big welcome to Bucking Hangover episode 8, week 8 of the NFL season. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. You got it right above you there, $10 Sports, and Mike's at Balls Brews Bros all together. So again, at $10 Sports for me, at Balls Brews Bros for Emrod as well. So Mike, let's just hop right into it. But I can't help but notice you've got the Seattle Seahawks jersey going.
Yeah, I'm actually going to the Seattle Seahawks game on this Sunday coming up. I just always like their fan base and their jerseys. I think Russell Wilson's a very good player who I'm excited to see. And let me see who they play. Oh crap, they play against the Bucks.
Oh,
Um,
that's unfortunate.
so I guess coincidentally they're playing the Bucks that weekend. So I guess I'll be seeing the Buccaneers there live in person as well. So yeah, so I'll be don't not sure who to root for now. I'm a little bit torn.
Well, at least you have both jerseys to change into in case of an emergency situation. Uh, yeah, so great. I'm sure that'll be a great road trip. Seattle, I hear, is a great city, so you'll have to let us know how the visiting experience goes in Seattle. Definitely one of the top NFL stadiums, at least when you see it on TV. So exciting for you, and we'll have you report back when for our next Bucking Hangover.
I will, or maybe I'll report back as the 12th man.
You could, yeah. We can maybe try and stream you in on Skype. Maybe it'll work a little bit better than our current setup for some reason. It likes to freeze your face there, but that's fine. We got audio, so we'll keep going. So let's talk about the game a little bit. And I like going through some of the key highlights. So we'll switch over to game leaders, which I always feel is interesting. And he's back on video. That's great. We'll resize you. The magic of live YouTube. Uh,
There we go.
so looking at our game leaders, of course, Jameis Winston 21 for 43, under that 50% threshold that heck we like seeing at least a 62% completion percentage, and he was under 50% for this game. 2 touchdowns, but of course another 2 interceptions, and you can't forget 2 more fumbles as
Yep,
well,
4 total
and
turnovers.
4 total turnovers again. What is that? 9. I think 9 over his last 2 games, if you include the Carolina game. 5 total turnovers there. Shade over 300 yards, which is nice, I guess, but not when you're turning the ball over another 4 times.
I don't know. What's nicer is Ryan Tannehill, 21 for 33, with 193 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a little bit nicer there. I'd rather take less than 200 yards with 3 touchdown passes and have somewhat of a run game going on than 300 yards any day of the week.
It's an efficient day from Ryan Tannehill, and again, really wasn't forced to do much, mostly because Buccaneer turnovers happened, and they were inside their own red zone to start. I think one of their drives was one play for 8 yards for a touchdown. Another one was 2 or 3 or 4 plays for 20 yards for a field goal. They didn't have to drive down the field until basically their last drive of the game was the only time they had to drive through a significant portion of the field to score. So,
And what's other kind of alarming here is the longest run for a Buccaneer was 20 yards, and it was done by Jameis Winston,
yeah,
who had 8 carries for 53 yards, averaging 6.6 yards a game. Second leading rusher, Ronald Jones, 11 carries for 35 yards.
that's right. And you'll see that right there on the game leaders. Jameis featured twice. He is the leading rusher, which is even more sad and kind of speaks to the state of rushing for our poor team. It's like you said, 8 yards for 53. Got to give it up for Mike Evans, though. 11 for 198 and 2 touchdowns. Really more than half our offense, almost 2/3 of our total offense there. And then a pretty strong performance for Levante David and most of the members of the defense. 12 total tackles for him and 2 for Lass. I think Shaq Barrett had another sack.
And a quiet night for Chris Godwin for once.
Yeah. And it was mostly the Mike Evans show in the air. So,
And I don't know if Rashard Perriman showing up on a stat sheet as 1 tackle.
1 tackle for loss. Yes. That was a pretty embarrassing play, and I wish I had a clip to show of it. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Jameis Winston snapping the ball. Was it a handoff? I think it might have even been to Bungawale, and
Yep.
Rashad Perriman crashes into him and tackles him for a loss of 3 on the play. Pretty rough stuff for the Buccaneers. Really a comedy of errors.
I really hope that was a dare.
It's like, hey, let's make this even worse. We got to make the not top 10.
I dare you to tackle dare on that play.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it took you a while.
So really, we try to be positive, right? So what went well? I mean, mostly team defense, generating a few turnovers, fumble recovery, and an interception. And honestly, limiting the Titans to under 250 yards of offense. Again, Tannehill had not even 200 yards of passing, and holding Derrick Henry in check for the most part, generating a turnover off of him and forcing a fumble. I mean, what are your thoughts on the defense?
Now I'm excited to see Jason Pierre-Paul back. He got a sack on his first game back. Can't forget about that. Shaq Barrett added another stat there to his stat sheet.
In the double digits now. I think he got to 10. Yep. I think he gets his bonus.
Yep, he gets his bonus, and hopefully gets a bonus if he gets 10 more, which he'll hopefully achieve. He's at 10 sacks for the season. But yeah, mainly I'm just excited to see JPP back. They need to stop the turnovers because every time we got an interception, there was some kind of penalty, roughing the passer or defensive pass interference. Always, every time we turned the ball over, we ended up with a penalty. So that's got to kind of like stop there a little bit because that is a difference in the game was Jameis Winston's 2 turnovers. Maybe if we got a couple turnovers. Actually, in the other turnover, that was the fake field goal in the whistle blew dead. So every time we had an opportunity for a turnover, they were taken back for some reason. So
Yeah, and I think that was a critical turning point of the game. I mean, you could argue that any of the 4 Buccaneer turnovers was, cause for the loss, especially with the margin of victory being so close. But that was a fairly egregious call to blow the whistle immediately. I mean, I understand we want to preserve some semblance of safety, especially for a player that doesn't normally run the ball like a punter, but I mean he he was absolutely destroyed, and it was clear that the ball was coming out. It wasn't a bang bang play where the ball popped out right before he hit the ground. I mean, he was leveled and the ball was coming out, and really disappointed in the officiating in that game. Not just that
yeah,
play, the officiating has just been atrocious. Not over for only for the Buccaneers, but I mean across the NFL, it has been very, 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 very variable.
yeah, they just referees are just not held accountable for their mistakes. I mean, really, they're not. Coaches get fired, players get cut. Um, you know, everything shifts around, but referees can be bad all they want, and there's really no repercussions. It seems like you never see one being suspended for having a terrible game, one getting cut. They just continue making bad calls, and part of I mean, they just have an amazing collective bargaining agreement, for sure. Um, but there definitely needs to be some accountability on the referees in there, because I mean, bad calls are costing players jobs, games, team games, coaches jobs. So we just really need to have a little bit more accountability there.
And it's really interesting because if a crew has a bad game in college, I mean there's been crews that have been suspended from calling games because of a bad performance, especially egregious calls that determine the outcome of a game. The NFL, it's like no apologies. It's very hush hush. Bill
Yeah.
Belichick is one to say, and some of the more vocal coaches in the league, like, "Oh yeah, I received a call or I received a letter from the NFL," but it doesn't mean anything. Especially after Sean, I think Sean Payton's a great example. After
They get a
the call, they got
they get
a
a video. They get a video actually from South Park. Sorry, we're
sorry.
sorry. Like when South Park did the BP
Oh yeah,
video,
yep.
that's what they get.
No, and I could see Roger Goodell being the front man for that. Sorry, uh, we'll put in a weird rule change to make it better that really doesn't work. Don't get me started on the pass interference uh, rules now with the reviewing of the calls, because that was just it's been such a farce so far. Because any first of all, it's being abused. Anyone gets touched, it's like, oh, we're gonna challenge for pass interference, and then second of all, they're also not being overturned when it's pass interference or not pass interference. The referees are falling back on their initial call, and it just, I don't know. I think it was just like a rule change to appease Sean Payton.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So I think what's been great is I haven't had to change our slides very much, because what needs improvement is still our dumpster fire that's still festering there. We talked about the officiating, but once again, I hate seeing him up there. But Jameis Winston, I think the countdown is on to the end of the season at this point. I just, I just, we, I can't anymore as a fan. I just can't do it anymore.
I know, but I mean, you also gotta look at the bigger picture here. I mean, the guy gets sacked 5 times a game, usually 3 times this time. But I mean, the offensive line play has been horrendous.
Oh, it's been
I
bad this
mean,
whole year, and uh,
I mean, if I would, I would probably blame Jameis Winston more if maybe we had a decent rushing game. We can say, okay, our offensive line's not that bad. We have our running backs averaging 100 yards a game, but I mean, our running backs average like 30, 40 yards a game if we're lucky. Jameis Winston has no time in the pocket to throw passes. He has a horrendous offensive line, no run support. I mean, this is a new offensive system he's in. This is probably the third or fourth that he's been in since he's been taken over. as quarterback of the Buccaneers in his fifth season, probably his third or fourth system he's in 5 years.
Wow, so
So I
you're
mean,
taking the Jameis Winston defense route, really?
not taking Jameis Winston defense route. I'm just saying if you really take a step back and look at it, I mean, he has been kind of bred to fail since taking the Buccaneers job. I mean, his first year was Lovie Smith. Then they changed the head coach on him, give him a new offensive coordinator. I know Dirk Cutter was offensive coordinator when he did well, and then he made him a head coach to keep him around. But was he calling plays the next year? I don't think so because the play calling in the offense was not the same.
But Dirk Cutter isn't throwing interceptions. Like Dirk Cutter's not throwing egregious interceptions that you should not, and making bad reads that you should not be making in year 5 of your career.
And also, I mean, I get what you're saying there, but you got to play to the player's strengths. And the third year when they signed Deshaun Jackson is a speedy wide receiver. Since back in FSU days, we all knew Jameis Winston can I hit a fast running back in stride. I mean, not fast running back, a fast receiver in stride. Why are we getting like one of the best fast receivers in the NFL to come and be his receiver? We know that's not going to work. And the day we signed him, I even told you that this is not going to work. Deshaun Jackson's will get frustrated halfway through the season because he's not going to be able to get any balls thrown his way. Play to his strength. Cameron Brate, amazing weapon. Mike Evans, amazing weapon. Get one more on the other side. I mean, Chris Godwin, amazing weapon. Play to his strengths. That's all I'm going to say is play to the guy's strengths. Don't force him to be something he's not.
Man, I think you're right. I mean, we have to just have possession receivers, and I think that's what we have in Mike Evans and to a degree Chris Godwin. I think Chris Godwin's a little bit of a speedier possession receiver, but you're right. I mean, if we had $1 for every time Jameis hit someone in stride, we maybe have enough to buy a ticket to a Bucs game, but not very much money left after that. It's just frustrating, and we've talked about it on the show already, like this year. Like, why can't this guy just hit someone in stride? All he has to do is hit someone in stride, and we could be talking about a 4-3 team.
Absolutely. And that's just my whole thing is like, yeah, I mean, he's a professional quarterback. He should be able to hit someone in stride. So I'm not saying that he's, has no guiltiness to it, but I'm saying as a franchise, we really never, well, not we, but they never really played to his strengths. They just kind of like wanted him to be something he wasn't. And that's just never going to work no matter what system, who the quarterback is. If you don't play to their strengths, they're not going to succeed.
So who do you think, looking back at our quarterback history and quarterback draft history, do you think Jameis is better than Josh Freeman? Because they're almost following the same trajectory where, Josh Freeman gets into year 5 and, he kind of fades into the sunset because same situation, too many turnovers, surrounded by a bad team and a bad coach. I mean, who's the better quarterback? I mean, have we just had bad luck drafting, or is it truly a system problem where it didn't matter who was in there?
Yeah, that's a tough one between Josh Freeman and Jameis Winston. I'm probably going to have to give it to Jameis Winston personally. I'm trying to think. I mean, Josh Freeman had Vincent Jackson as a weapon. It's equivalent to type of Mike Evans. Who did Josh Freeman have as running back? Yeah,
they have Cadillac. Did he have Cadillac for a year or two?
Yeah, I think he had Cadillac. Do you have Ernie Graham?
I think he had Ernest Graham. Yeah, that's not impressive.
Yeah, same situation. I mean, no special running back. Either one ever had. I mean, they kind of mirror each other if you kind of think of it. Vincent Jackson, big receiver like Mike Evans. Not any special running back. Offensive line.
Is that when we had K2 playing tight end?
Say that again.
Is that when we had Kellen Winslow playing tight end?
Yeah, Kellen Winslow.
So I mean, we kind of had a. You're right. We kind of had a similar build. Our defense wasn't great. I think our team is a piece or two away from being a pretty solid defense. So, I don't know. I've kind of thought about it these last few days. It's like I feel like it's like we've wasted the last 10 years of our Buccaneer fandom on these two quarterbacks, and I hope Jameis ends up on his feet. I'm not thinking it's here in Tampa, or he's got to be willing to take a backup role as we get someone new in here. I don't know. I'm a little torn.
And running back, I mean, think about what's the best running back we've had in the past 10 years? Garrett Blunt?
Yeah, who we didn't really use correctly and was here for a couple years. We tried to use him as a power back exclusively, and yeah, you're right. I think LeGarrette Blunt, at least from a name standpoint, best running back we've had over the past few years.
And we had Quiz.
Oh yeah, Jaquiz Rogers. He had a good game a couple years ago when it was the Bucs Saints points explosion at the beginning of the year. Was it last year? It was like 48-47 or something like that.
Yeah.
Jaquiz Rogers owned the Saints.
I'd take that back. Our best running back probably who had 2 good years, probably Doug Martin. We forgot about him.
That's true. We forgot about Dougie. I think he set some of our rushing marks.
I know he had like a 260-yard game one time against the Raiders. Something crazy like that. He had a crazy game like that one time. I think and it was like 2015, he finished number 2 in rushing behind Adrian Peterson for the league leader in rusher.
Oh, yeah. I mean, enough that John Gruden wanted to take him over there to the Oakland Raiders when he was getting things going in Oakland. So as we're getting close to our time, I wanted to pull up the standings. Of course, Saints running away with it. I think at 7-1. Panthers 2 games behind. I think they're at 5-2 or 4-3. The Bucs, unfortunately, at 2-5. The Falcons. I mean, talk about a disappointing team.
Yeah,
has to be the Falcons. Terrible. They are so bad. No way Dan Quinn survives this season.
I'll be surprised if he survives week 10.
Especially if maybe the Bucs pull off a win against the Falcons as well. I think the biggest story I wanted to talk about, though, as we do with our standings, we always put the NFC leader, San Francisco, at a solid 7-0. I wasn't a believer until last week when they basically annihilated the Carolina Panthers. What are you thinking about the 49ers' chances for the rest of the year?
Yeah, on $10 Sports, if you tuned in last week, I did choose Carolina to win that game. I thought the 49ers haven't played anybody yet, and Carolina's going to be their first challenge. Carolina's been on a bit of a hot streak. They gave Kyle Allen the first loss, but, I mean, was Kyle Allen maybe due for a loss? But, yeah, no, they definitely have a very good defense, great run game. They don't have to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo to be a hero. He just basically has to manage the game and let the running back and defense do their thing. And that is working out great for them so far. And I think San Francisco, at this point, I'd be surprised they don't win the division.
Yeah, they are pulling away. The Rams aren't looking great. I think their biggest competition is going to be the Seahawks, who are going to have to, hopefully have a tough game against the Buccaneers this Sunday up in Seattle. But I mean, honestly, it's the 49ers to lose. I haven't looked at their schedule to see who they have left.
They still got the Cardinals twice. They got the Seahawks twice.
Wow, they
still got it. Yeah, and they got another game against the Rams. They got the Saints, Falcons, and Packers and Ravens. So they got definitely not an easy not an easy road here.
I like it though. I think we're gonna really see what they're made of and get potentially some playoff previews out of that as well. So pretty excited for the 49ers. I'm happy you got the Jimmy G jersey. At least you'll have someone to root for over during the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they got what the 49ers got. The 49ers got 9 games left. I mean, because I think they're on a bye after the Cardinals game next week. So, I mean, they got 9 games left. And, I mean, if they'll probably beat the Cardinals. I'm just going to give them that one. They should be 8-0 going into the bye week. And if they just split their last 8 games 4-4,
easy,
that's 12-4.
Easy 1 seed. I mean, there's really no other competition. Well, maybe the Saints. I'd be curious to see the Saints schedule and where they end up losing, especially with Drew Brees coming back. That team, he looks like he hasn't missed a beat.
Well, December 8th, we got the 49ers at Saints. So we'll
Oh.
kind of see, maybe get our NFC Championship game
Yeah, I
preview
like that.
there.
That's going to be an exciting. That's the circle that one for sure. Hopefully, we should be into flex scheduling there, so maybe that's a Monday or a Sunday night game on NBC. So we will see how the rest of the season treats the Buccaneers and the rest of the NFC. And then, of course, we always close with what's next for the Buccaneers. Yet another road game. The Bucs. When's the last time the Bucs were even home? I know the London game was considered a home game.
September. Last time Bucks were home was in September. September.
Jeez.
Let me see here.
It's been almost 2 months from Raymond James. Are people even still talking about the Bucs? Do they miss the Bucs? I don't.
Do we even have a team? September 22nd. It was
the Giants, right?
Infamous field goal miss to lose the game, and Daniel Jones homecoming party, and he still hasn't.
He hasn't been great since then. The Bucs made him look great.
It made Tannehill look great. That's what we do. If you're a backup or a first-time quarterback, we'll make you look like a stud.
Oh, we're looking at the chat window. Mike Vega talking about Maurice Stovall being a tool for Josh Freeman back in 2009.
Oh, Maurice Stovall. That was one of your
Notre Dame guys. I was so excited when we ended up with Maurice Stovall. So,
Michael Vega, we appreciate the dwash.
The dwash. So hopefully the Bolts coming, or the Bucs coming to the end of a long road streak there, going into Seattle and coming back home to play a few games in Raymond James Stadium. Not that it'll make a difference or anything, but what's the likelihood you think of the Bucs pulling off an upset in Seattle?
So very unlikely, because I think the last 12 games that I've been to, the Bucs have lost. So I just assume we're going to lose every game. I'm just there for the experience.
Just there for the ride
and the beer.
Check it off the bucket list of arenas.
But you know what? The Bucs have played the Seahawks really well. Going back to about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, when the Bucs came to Tampa. The Seahawks came to Tampa. We actually beat them. I think it was 9-3. We were able to get the win there. And then last time the Bucs played at Seattle was the year the Bucs went 2-14. The Bucs almost pulled off that upset. It came down to the last couple minutes. So we usually play Seattle pretty hard. So I mean, it could go either way. So I'm excited to see what happens that game.
I think a big key to the game is, once again, controlling that running game. But again, you're facing the top paid quarterback in the league, so hopefully that secondary is ready. A couple hot topics to close us out. I know you and I were having a pretty spirited talk about the trade deadline and the lack of Buccaneer interest in the trade deadline. I'd love to hear your take on how we didn't get involved in any of the big names out there, especially with some draft picks to spare.
It just kind of feels like, I'll give you a metaphor. It kind of feels like when you're a running back and you get tackled by your own wide receiver, if that's ever happened before. That's how it kind of feels there. It's like a nice little hit to the gut. But yeah, no, I mean, what really are we going to trade for? I mean, I was kind of upset because, every year I get upset when the Bucs don't make any moves. I see other teams, but we're not going to be a playoff team, just being realistic. So, what are we really going to trade for? What are we going to give up? I'm going to give up any draft capital, especially since we're probably most likely moving off of Jameis Winston. So we need that first round pick. We need that second, third round pick as well in order to get that, bolster up that offensive line. So, last mock draft I saw, Bucs were at 8th pick. They are going for Justin Herbert, who is the best quarterback on the board. So just got to save up the capital, kind of do a mini rebuild, maybe get a couple pieces there in the secondary and wait till the offseason.
So it's an interesting point you bring up. What I really was interested in is, I don't know. I know we're not going to be a playoff team this year, but I know as we were kind of texting with our group of friends, there were some people out there that, we're a little bit younger than some of the people we have in our stable, and maybe a little bit more upside. I mean, why not sacrifice a second or third round pick? I mean, I think you brought up when we were talking some of the infamous second round picks that we've had in the Jason Light era.
Well,
Why
given
not
our
just why not just sacrifice a second round pick to avoid us picking a Roberto Aguayo? I mean,
no, like I said, like in our conversation earlier, I was pretty upset because Garyon Conley is a very young cornerback, third-year player. I think he's going to be a very good, not like a Pro Bowler, but good and better than anything we have in our secondary, and that's our weakest part is our secondary. So the way I looked at it is why the Texans gave the Raiders a third round pick for him. Why couldn't we just offer a second? I mean, we're gonna botch that pick anyways. That's kind of like the worst spot for the Bucs is second round. And like I said, these are names that off the top of my head, you could probably go down and look up, see some more names. But second round picks off my head that for the Buccaneers is Robert Aguayo, Noah Spence, Rojo,
oh, Spence, man.
Dexter Jackson. Remember him? Eastern Carolina, I
Yep.
believe. Is that
the,
right?
the other Dexter Jackson, the less famous one.
Aurelius Ben from
Wow.
Illinois,
Yep.
University of Illinois. Justin Evans, who was the Texas Texas A&M safety that we drafted in the second round. Jonathan Banks, like Georgia Southern, I want to say he was from, or somewhere like that, and he was not good. Daquan Bowers, who we thought was a second round steal, because he was supposed to be a top 10 pick, but due to his knee issues, he dropped down the second round, and we thought that was the steal of the draft, and he bowed his way out of here.
Hey,
And don't forget about Luke Stalker, who we traded up for, and we could have just maybe waited and gotten Rob Gronkowski or something like that.
oh yeah, Luke Stalker. Forgot about him. One of the best Buccaneers to wear to don the '88. We'll miss you, Luke Stalker.
So yeah, that's just a little quick recap of our second round picks. So I mean, I don't mind any team that wants a second round pick. Why not trade? If the player's good and is proven, I'll give you a second round pick any day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, at
Probably
least you know what you're getting. It's not a question of all right. Well, we're kind of going off of Mel Kiper's sage advice and what our scouting department has been working on for the past 6 months, and NFL Combine, where some guy decides to do 50 reps for the first time in his life. Uh, I don't know. I would rather trade that and get someone proven. So I know we're talking a little bit about Jameis. I mean, do you think there's a chance that he stays maybe for a smaller contract? I think some of the Coach Arians as a quarterback whisperer and some of the previous interests and relationships he had with Jameis. Do you think there's a chance that maybe Jameis gets a short term deal at a low money value?
I'd say no because keeping him here is kind of not really moving on, and he's going to be competing with a rookie quarterback or whoever we have. And I mean, being a fifth, 6 year player at that point, I mean, I hope you can beat a rookie quarterback coming in. So I mean, it's really, and we don't want to put the pressure on whoever is the quarterback that comes in, where if he has one bad game, we're all chanting, "Bring Jameis back." You don't want to put that kind of pressure on any kind of new or rookie quarterback if we decide to go to rookie route. Maybe Andy Dalton. I mean, he got benched. Maybe he might be a good bridge quarterback if we're not able to get, the draft spot that we want. If we're not a top 10 pick, I don't know what we do with quarterback.
And that's what my concern is too. Is the schedule I think looks semi-favorable for us to end up. I mean, I could see us ending up 6-10. I mean, does that? I don't know if that gets us into the top 10 in picks. That might put us at 12, 13, 14. And I just don't know what's going to be available. The Dolphins are going to be going quarterback.
Bengals too.
The Bengals are going to be going quarterback and moving away from Andy Dalton. I just don't know what's left for us in the pecking order.
Yeah, all I know the top three are Burrow, Tua, and Herbert. And after that, I think there's a slight bit of a drop off.
I'm sure there's a little bit of a drop off there.
There's that Jason Eason guy from Washington. Not too familiar with him, but he's right now at the latest mock draft I'm looking at, they have Burrow going to Cincinnati at 1, Tua going to Miami, and then the next quarterback to go off the board is Justin Herbert to the Buccaneers, and then
Wow.
Jacob Eason to the Chargers.
Okay. That I would take that. Where do they have the Bucks drafting? At 10?
10, yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 9.
Hmm.
Okay, but this can't be that great. Oh, never mind. So the Dolphins get the second round pick. Second pick of the draft. They get Tua, and they're looking to get Josh Jones, offensive lineman, with the 10th pick. So they're getting that pick from Pittsburgh because
Interesting.
Pittsburgh gave up Mika Fitzpatrick.
That's right. Yep, for Fitzpatrick. Interesting.
And Raiders get their second first round pick from the Bears for the Khalil Mack trade.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows where the Bears end up this year as well. Speaking of another team that might be looking for a quarterback,
Yeah,
is it already too early to move on from Mitchell Trubisky for the Bears?
yeah, the guy's just not showing anything. I mean, I think it's one of those things you're trying to stick with Trubisky because they're in denial that they wasted a second round. Remember, they traded up to the second spot to get him, and I think they're just hoping he turns it around. But I mean, he's still his third year or fourth year, so we'll see what happens there. I don't see the Bears taking that option.
All right, everybody. I think that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so much for our live audience out there. First time we've had a live audience. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. And of course, don't forget to follow Moose on Twitter at $10 Sports. And then we got Emrod at Balls Brews Bros. Give us a follow on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And like I've been saying the last few shows, we're working on getting the audio exported and uploaded and hosted so we can get on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts again, because I know it's hard to listen to us, especially if you don't have a paid YouTube subscription. Can't really listen to the audio without the app being open. So we know that's a barrier. So we're working on that to get you some audio out of Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts as well. So that is it for this edition of Buc'ing Hangover. Mike, enjoy your trip. We'll have maybe we'll try to get a live Buc'ing Hangover as you walk out of the stadium. We might have to try to get some Skype action on your phone.
Yeah, definitely we'll do that, and I'll try to talk to some Seahawks fans on the way. Maybe get their opinion, get a unbiased third-party opinion on Jameis Winston. See what they think that the Bucs should do, just to get another perspective on it. I think it will be kind of interesting.
And then we should have hopefully $10 Sports by Thursday, and hopefully I'll be able to get you before you leave for $10 Sports for the week. I was really happy to hit my teaser last night, so plus $200 on my end, and then we'll have another Moose's Monster teaser for you as well for week 9 of the NFL season. So that's been it for us at Buc'ing Hangover. Thanks so much. We will see you next week. Go Bucs. Beat those Seahawks. Have a great night.
All right, good night. Peace.